Nearly 50 adults, folks, 70 kids, decades. That's what an independent investigation just confirmed happened at Interlochen Center for the Arts, one of the most prestigious art schools in the country. Sitting right here in our part of the Midwest in northern Michigan. And here's the kicker. Here's the horrifying part. Jeffrey Epstein wasn't just connected to this place. He was a camper there in 1967. He donated money, and they named a cabin after him. Court records say he found one of his earliest known victims at that summer camp. Our guest today tried to get Michigan legislature to investigate the Epstein-Interlochen connection months before the report came out. And what happened next? The Speaker of the House stripped her of every committee assignment she had the day after she held a press conference demanding answers. State Representative Penelope Tsernoglou joins me right now. Representative, thank you so much for joining us today. How are you? How have you been over the last few months since we last spoke with everything going on?
So I've been fine. I've been following closely what's been happening since the report came out, and it looks like finally. At least some of the, first, it was shocking that there were actually dozens of individuals who were engaging in all kinds of abusive, inappropriate, frankly, criminal behavior at Interlochen. Both before and after the things that happened with Jeffrey Epstein. It was, very much part of the culture, if you will. And all of this had been covered up, not reported, or in some cases, reported and just nothing was done with it. And finally, we might see a little bit of accountability for some of the perpetrators.
And I know that when we last spoke, this was something that clearly the Republicans in Michigan did not want to have to address. Reading more about it and hearing just how cavalier the environment seemed to become in this educational environment, basically like, hey, make sure you're not having relationships with the kids. It seems as though it was pretty well known on the campus, wasn't it?
It does. I read the whole report, almost 100 pages, and it was clear that these things were known. People saw them happening. Staff saw them happening. Other students were aware. So yes, there was very much an awareness of what was going on.
So tell us about the new report that they. What is there something that surprised you even after everything you'd already heard?
Well, the report did surprise me. I didn't realize. I initially thought, okay, we've got Jeffrey Epstein here doing these things. He's probably not the only one. There's probably a few other instances, but it was shocking the number that was in the report, and there's probably more. I'm sure there's more work to be done there, but there were dozens, and it was clear from that report that other adults, staff members, members of the leadership there were very aware, and they were complicit. They were allowing teachers, adult teachers, to sign students out of the dormitories and take them away, spend the night at their houses, take them alone on field trips, and just completely inappropriate, shocking, behavior. And some of them looked the other way. Some of them, actively, it seems were just complicit in all of this. And just the level of engagement there is what was truly horrifying about that report.
Again, to remind folks, there was a report, the results of an external investigation sanctioned by the Interlochen Center for the Arts revealed that over the course of 7 decades, nearly 50 adults in leadership have been accused of sexually abusing and exploiting over 70 former students, which means, as a survivor of sexual violence, I know that means that there are many more. Is that something that folks have talked about?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there is there is more work to be done there. This, may very well just be the surface of it right now. I do appreciate that Interlochen, was willing to, sanction and sponsor this investigation, but I think there's still more to do with the investigation part, with the prosecution part, with making sure that the people who have identified are held accountable, because these were children, and they were in the care of adults who were exploiting them, abusing them, harming them in all sorts of ways. And we really need to just keep exploring and investigating and holding people accountable for this whole situation.
So let's talk a little bit about, because you'd been pushing for this. This was HR 284, and you had been pushing for it for months, right, before this report came out. So tell us a little bit about what information you were gathering and that was being shared with you. How long ago was that happening that you knew you had to push hard on this?
So it was definitely many, many months. We had been researching. And the things that were easiest to find were connected to Epstein. So we were kind of focusing on that and how it appeared that there was more to find there. But then in the meantime, people had reached out to us through other people or through their representatives or their families, and it seemed like there were other stories to be told, other instances that had occurred. And, I won't specifically share any of those out of respect for, the people who did share. But it seems like there was more, which is what we wanted to look into. And clearly there was a lot more, and probably even more as we go forward will be found, particularly if the prosecutor, I know the prosecutor is pursuing or trying to pursue charges against some of the involved individuals, and I think those investigations will probably lead to more information.
So, in the report, it's noted that it did not make findings as to the sufficiency, timeliness, or appropriateness of Interlochen's response. So, what does that gap mean in practice? Like, who's supposed to fill that? There should be some sort of chain of accountability.
Absolutely. And I think that might be one of the issues we see when an institution finances its own report.
Yes.
So that certainly still needs to be looked into. I think the Attorney General's office might be a way of looking into it at this point, now that all of this has been uncovered. As I mentioned, maybe when they're doing the investigations to prosecute some of those individuals, the prosecutor's office might be able to do some of that. And I still stand by my earlier assertion that the legislature could investigate. We could investigate those things. We have that investigatory power, and that is what our oversight should be doing at this time, or a special committee to investigate. So there are options, and we remain one of them.
And how has the GOP responded in Michigan? This report came out July 31st, so almost 2 weeks ago. And you were removed because of your conduct, which clearly seems to be an act of retaliation. Has there been any noise at all, any reaction from the GOP in Michigan?
Well, the Oversight Committee chair who refused to investigate is now our candidate for lieutenant governor.
Okay.
So that could be interpreted as a reaction, I suppose.
Wow.
But certainly nothing towards backing up, the investigation or any type of indication that they might be interested in further investigation or oversight or valid oversight.
Wow.
And the oversight continues to simply have hearings to try to create gotcha moments for elected Democratic officials rather than looking into real crimes like this one.
Wow. And you were removed from committees under the auspices of it was about your conduct, not the Epstein push. And you called it a retaliation and a cover, which from this angle, it seems to be the case. For folks who aren't following it, well, first of all, what did he point out as an indication of your conduct being a reason for removing you from committees? Like raising your voice? Because I've been in chambers before and heard things get a little bit raucous. Were there any specifics?
I believe they might have been referring to the fact that I asked questions. I asked hard questions in committees, but a lot of times I wasn't even allowed to ask questions. Most of the time, our oversight chair simply did not call on me because I wanted to ask questions that would, debunk their narrative of waste, fraud, and abuse. Non-existent waste, fraud, and abuse in a lot of cases. So they didn't like that I was challenging misinformation that sometimes some of our subcommittee chairs were putting forward. And I'm not going to say that I didn't challenge a lot of their incorrect assertions. And I'm not saying that I didn't ask questions, because to me, that is our role on oversight, is to participate fully and ask the hard questions and push for real oversight. So I think all of those things that I did, whatever reason may have been given, does not feel like a valid reason to me personally.
No, clearly. And so now, where does HR 284 stand? Is there any movement on that at all from other legislators?
We haven't seen any movement on it lately. We actually have not been in session for quite some time. Session often ends after the budget is passed. So we haven't had session since the budget was passed. And we do expect to go back into session probably at the end of August. So there really hasn't been a whole lot going on on any fronts right now.
Would you mind laying out sort of the landscape of the General Assembly of Michigan? What is there a supermajority held by the Republicans or a majority? What does that look like going into the midterms?
Yeah, so the House the Republicans are in the majority. It's not a supermajority, but they have several more seats. So they have a majority. And the way that Michigan right now, the districts, we recently did redistricting, and the way that the districts are drawn is that there are a lot of swing seats, as it should be. So there's going to be a lot of really tough, challenging races across the state that will determine who goes into the majority this fall.
And, this is, are there paths for then flipping those seats? Are you feeling confident that?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, good.
Absolutely.
That's great.
And it did recently flip this past election. And because of the way that those districts are drawn, it will always be flippable one way or the other.
Gotcha.
But we are feeling very confident this year that we will be able to flip a lot of those important seats.
I do want to let our audience know, because we do reach many parts of the country, and I know of at least one young person that went to Interlochen, and I wouldn't want to ask her, a really remarkable young woman who was a guest on my show as a singer, songwriter, performer over a decade ago, and she's living in Los Angeles now. I still follow her career, and I just want to let folks know, if you or someone in your family or in your circle of friends know a child that attended Interlochen, and if you have questions or information, Representative Tsernoglou, I'm so sorry. Can you say your name again, because I've lost it now?
No problem. It's Tsernoglou.
Tsernoglou, I appreciate it. Her office wants to hear from you. We'll have the contact information on the Patti Vasquez Facebook show page. Is there another place you want to send folks over if they have any information or questions?
Yeah, they can absolutely contact my office. It's just my name, which is hard to spell, but Penelope, and then my last name, Tsernoglou, at house.mi.gov.
Possibly one of the, I would say probably the hardest name I know I've ever had to do a voice to text. I'm sorry.
Yes.
And I mean, I know that this is really heavy stuff, and I appreciate you, taking this on and pushing forward for answers. What would you like to say to families who sent their kids to Interlochen and are perhaps now wondering if their child was a target or a victim?
Sure. So I also know families, of students there. I know former students, and certainly not everyone, was subject to this, but absolutely talk to your kids or your family member who went there, and if they were subject to any of this. They absolutely should report it. We are continuing to do everything we can to hold people accountable, but also knowing that certainly not everyone was affected by it.
Right.
I hope that we eventually get to a place where we find out everything that had happened and hold as many people accountable as possible, and then at some point, move on, and the institution, can continue in a way that things like this, will never happen again. I don't think we're there yet. I don't think it's for me to decide even when we are there. I think that's up to the survivors, and we are listening to them, and we want to amplify their voices and continue to push for accountability.
I really appreciate that. Again, we've been talking to Representative Penelope Tsernoglou, who represents the 75th District of Michigan, and I appreciate your work. If there's anything we can do to get a message out, but we would love to talk to you again for any updates, and we wish you the best. We'd love to have another conversation about your candidacy whenever you have an opportunity.
That sounds great. Thank you for talking to me.
I appreciate it, ma'am. Have a great day.
You too. Bye.
Take care. Bye.